welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Mendham. Yeah, that's about what it comes down to. Garden is really getting there. Tomato plants are now taller than 6 feet. And that one doesn't have a whole lot of, there's some down there. But neighbor ones are catching up. Cucumbers. Something eating a hole in one. I don't know what the hell that is. Anyway, these are monstrous plants here. Lots of tomatoes, all kinds of places there. Anyway, so yeah, it's free food almost free. Yeah, lots of tomatoes here. Lots. So any day now, right? Yeah. Anyway, subjects. See, I did Piero's room. Cats. Get off the driveway. I've told you about this driveway thing. No, we're not going to get along. No, I'm going to swat your tail. It's the most discipline I can muster. Food. All looking for their breakfast soon. They really don't get this whole schedule thing very much, cats. They just kind of figure, I'm hungry. You make food. Give me some. Well, sort of logical. Anyway. Yeah, so more stuff. Flowers finally. These are going to be nice once they get little buds in there, so any day now. And, so the apple tree with very few apples on it. There's one here. I think I can... Oh, I can't save it after all. Damn. Thought I could save that one, but too late. Fucking birds are retarded. Menace. This ruin things. Like humans, just can't do anything right. So anyway, that was sort of the subject. I went to Piero's room, kind of wanted to talk about the whole, you really can't do philosophy on the internet or anywhere, really, unless you can do this agreeable premise thing. God, these Japanese beetles are making such a mess out of these flowers. They're just ripping everything to pieces. Anyway, okay, sorry. This seems like a really good location, but these plants seem a little stunted. Yeah, too bad. I was going to show you the sunflower, but there's no sunflowers with sunflowers, but tomatoes, more tomatoes. Let's see, this one's about to open here. Stuck in the net. Yeah, this net is it's unfortunate they have to cover everything, but you have to cover everything. So this, you can't have a conversation when you have agreeable premises. We have to have the same number system, the same values if we're going to be able to exchange equations, as I put it. There's just no other way to do it. You gotta. It's like we're speaking a different actual language, and that just isn't going to work. So, anyway, variegated zinnias, slightly variegated, spotted. Oh, sorry, there. Gotta point the camera in the right direction. I don't know why these are doing this kind of sparse thing here. It's added flowers, obviously, but everything's a little twiggy. I'll have to fix that somehow. Let's see how it goes. And finally, one of my white marigolds came up properly instead of mutated. So that's a good sign. And more color in here now. It's getting better. Yeah, very good. Pile of stuff here, cucumbers, whatnot. Anyway, so I'm still working on the video. Yeah, so you know, it's like I've already stated that I'm going to try to do this with videos, just make them very short, succinct, you know, and then tie them together in terms of a progression of an argument based on premises. And if we don't agree on the premises, then there's some video explaining how, well, we sort of have to agree on those premises or there's no further conversation, because it just provides too much opportunity for somebody to cheat in the middle of the conversation, you know, when they're losing, and just resort to some backup nihilist position of it doesn't matter, or who cares, or whatever the you know, whatever the bullshit would be, where yes, it did matter before and all of a sudden now it doesn't matter, now it doesn't count, you know, and there's just no point in arguing that way. So that's my plan, personal plan. See if we get anybody to play along with conversations that are dependent on a string of premises that are somehow rationally tied to reality, where you know, you can't talk, like, for example, this whole conversation that Anaconda started about desire is all based on his premises that desire is substantively different than every other thing that happens to us consciously. And I'd say it's so mundane in a sense. It's one of the simplest things that happens to us. It's an itch, a persistent itch, and it's not even that intense an itch usually, but it's just so persistent. It just won't stop itching, and so eventually you slide in the direction of the desire because it just keeps kind of nagging you into it. Get the rest of those later. But yeah, I have to do this put things in the sun thing. You know, just another liability of the beasties that come to steal everything. You know, nature and such. Jeez. Oh, that's what it. You know, all kinds of junk. So I've been getting greens off my beets. You know, these here have been harvesting the leaves, and so that's getting to start to be a regular thing. Those are new ones, and you know, I realized I had the seeds, so I might as well plant them. I was all stupid not to figure that out earlier, but plenty of time, and so yeah, that would be good. Cold breeze, very nice day, I think. Looks like lots of rain the last couple of days, so everything should be ready to go. Yeah. Okay, so what else do I have to add here? So anyway, the conversation, you just can't really, you know, no matter what kind of conversation, you can't maintain it. The subject always gets changed. It bleeds into some other kind of bullshit, and you know, so there isn't. You know, I spent a lot of hours yesterday in that room, and you know, you just feel when you're done with it that you didn't accomplish anything. So it's a little bit irritating. Yeah. Because it really has to do with all this politics stuff and everything else. If you're going to have some real decent change in the world, you got to change the structure of these systems. And to do that, people have to actually understand the system, and it has to be acknowledged that when you're in the conversation, they really don't understand how anything works. So there's really no point in having a conversation with people who don't understand, you know. So it's like you can't talk auto mechanics or something with people that have never opened the hood of a car. You know, they just have some vague notion about how the engine works, but no specific knowledge about what's going on. And then it ended with a conversation with Vic, largely towards the, I don't know what middle of the, it was the middle of the thing there, but you know, about this idea of well, it had two subjects really, but the inheritance thing, and his perception that the more urgent thing is taking care of your own kid, because that kid is your responsibility, because you personally created that one kid that exists in the world, and that somehow that's the beginning and end of your responsibilities. In my more, I think, practical argument, that regardless of how irresponsibly the other children were produced into the world, it just doesn't matter. They exist now. They exist just as equally as your kid, and if you feel you have a responsibility to take care of one, you have a responsibility to all of them. And whatever one you personally created isn't really relevant. You have a responsibility to everything created by the thing you're financing. So it's kind of like the meat-eating thing for people who don't like the idea of killing animals. Well, paying somebody else to do it isn't any better. So in a sense, if you think it's if you can understand that it's not civilized behavior, if you're personally doing it, you should be able to understand that if you pay somebody to do it, it's just as uncivilized. Personally murdering somebody and paying somebody to murder somebody, we kind of understand is the same thing. And frankly, when you have a kid, you're basically and you endorse your right to have a kid, you're basically endorsing the behavior of the mechanism that produces the other children in the world. So you're in a sense just as equally responsible for their production, but you did nothing to stop it either. So until you stop their production, your production is just the same as theirs. It's production. It creates the liability. You're responsible, for the problem created by your endorsement of the activity. Yeah, and so in that sense, the responsibility term can even be dealt with. But ultimately, I would say, who cares about how it happened? I mean, I care in the sense that that's another separate subject that has to be dealt with. But it really doesn't have anything to do with the real problem that exists currently, which is the kids exist, and it would be silly, in my opinion, silly, to think the kid that popped out of your woman of choice's vagina is somehow more important or more special or more in need or more worthy of attention than all the other brains, sentient feeling organisms that were created that day or that decade or at any time in history. I mean, this doesn't make any difference. Net big picture. But again, he has a much narrower view of existence, in the sense that he doesn't see any necessity that your first priority is to the big picture equation, the overall impact, and the fact that it's like our economy moving all the child labor and the exploitation and the abuse and even the chauvinism. We all just move it over to China so we don't see it, and then we're all comfortable because it's it's not our little white children in the sweatshop, so therefore somehow it's all okay somehow. It's not all okay somehow. It's the same thing, it just makes it a problem we can't smell or we can't see, and so we play along because it doesn't irritate our senses. It doesn't create any desire. It doesn't itch us. It doesn't mosquito bite us and create an irritation that we have to deal with. Yeah, that's probably the way to say it, because it ties it together with the Anaconavod thing, where it's just kind of funny, because I've made a few videos talking about how he's so glib and so dismissive of the power of suffering. Like, you could just pile it on him. You could paralyze him tomorrow, no problem. Give him colitis, no problem. Give him all kinds of ailments, pain, suffering. He can take it. He's a man. But desire, no, he can't. Oh man, that's just whoa, that's too powerful a force. You know, when you have that mosquito bite, you just have to itch it. You know, cancer, who cares? You know, but mosquito bite, yeah, no, I can't deal with that. And that's how, you know. So obviously he's trying to make desire into some kind of, you know, force and imposed by Zeus, and you know, it's the, you know, wobbling galaxies in the universe are somehow irradiating us with this unstoppable mechanism of desire. So anyway, it's just kind of, yeah, I mean, you know, bunch of wordplay. So, you know, so that's what I tried to get to anyway, and you know, then you get to the whole economics of things, and he doesn't seem to understand that if I take too much, you know, collect too much salary, if I find some scheme to rip everybody off, like I'm a government employee, and I figure out how to work for, you know, 17 different agencies part-time, you know, and collect 17 pensions, you know, and some other racket, you know, that's real money you're stealing. It's not money that doesn't have a consequence. And so anytime somebody gets preposterously wealthy, or even even by today's standards moderately wealthy in some cases, is really excessive. Those are real resources. They're the same resources that we underpay people in China to steal. They're important enough to us somehow that we will compromise the health and welfare of people in another country to have them. Like, we'll virtually kill, we'll quite explicitly kill them because we will want it cheap. And so the risks will be higher. The compensations for, you know, humans destroyed will be lower, and, you know, for the expedience of paying less. So we know this money will kill people. People will die for it, in a sense. They'll go into coal mines and die. They'll take risks to have it because it's necessary to maintaining your survival and taking care of your family and all that bullshit. And so when you hoard a pile of it, that's money that can't do anything good in the world. And especially when it's investment capital. People think this investment capital is so precious. But that comes with such strings tied to it that you kind of have to understand what that is as a mechanism. It's a parasitic mechanism, because yeah, it goes into the economy, like the quarter goes into the machine, the soda machine, but what it's really doing is it's not really buying a soda, because there's a string attached to it, and the money's coming back as profit, and it's coming back with a dime attached to it. So the quarter goes into the machine, the coke comes out, so to speak, and that we get some jobs. But what gets pulled back is not only the quarter, but a dime also. So we gave them this labor. We gave them, we produce the product, but we produce it at a cost that includes repaying back not only the principal, but the interest. And so it's not money that really goes into the economy, because it has to come back again. It's like if government financed mechanisms like that and expected to get the money back. You know, when it gave somebody a Social Security check, it expected the old lady to go to work and pay the money back, plus interest. You wouldn't say, what a great program. You know, gee, that's really cool. You know, you force the 90-year-old lady to climb out of her wheelchair, you know, and go scrub floors for, you know, 8 hours a day, you know, to pay back her Social Security check. You know, you just wouldn't see it as a good retirement program. And so, you know, whorish investment capital isn't doing anything constructive in the economy because it's never actually spent in the economy. And it always demands a parasitic taking. It takes more out than goes in the machine. Again, the vending machine gets poorer Okay, when the investment capitalist puts his quarter in, because he's going to demand the quarter back plus a dime. And the rich in hoarding resources are doing exactly that. They're hoarding them, which means the dollar becomes more expensive, means there's more inflation, means your house costs more money, means you have to borrow more money to buy the house. It just creates the inflation that exists in real terms, in terms of the inflation in the value of assets, which people call wealth creation. But it's not wealth creation, it's inflation. The stock market is inflation. When it goes up, that means everything's inflating in value. But see, none of this stuff can be understood unless you understand these mechanics. You have to understand the gimmicks they're played. Where the banks didn't get a bailout. What the banks got was FDIC insurance for all their bad stock. So they're able to sell their bad stock because the federal government insured the garbage. It said the garbage is now guaranteed good because we say so. We'll put the American people's name on your junk bonds that you should have never created in the first place, because we got to stop you from going bankrupt. Because if you go bankrupt, then he'll go bankrupt, and he'll go bankrupt, and he'll go bankrupt, and a cascade of bankruptcy will take place. And that's what's going to happen eventually, because it's all debt that can't be paid. So there will be, eventually, there's going to be a run on the bankruptcy court. It's not going to be a run on the bank, it's going to be a run on the bankruptcy court. Because no one's going to be able to pay the margins, the debt that's overhanging most of the rich wealth in the world is credit card wealth. It's made out of junk. Guaranteed junk. Guaranteed by nothing. FDIC insurance is a federal program designed to prevent this very kind of scenario, and they've basically turned it into absolute nonsense, because they have a $20 billion fund insuring maybe up to $7 trillion worth of junk. We don't get to know exactly how much it is, but it's something in the trillions of dollars. So they have insured trillions of dollars of junk bonds, okay, with a $20 billion fund. So when the shit hits the fan and everybody says, well, I have FDIC insurance, how much can that possibly, what can FDIC insurance possibly mean if there's $20 billion in the insurance fund? That's right, FDIC insurance goes bankrupt. So just like everybody else, it's in bankruptcy court. So what's the federal government going to do when that happens? It's going to have to say, well, we got to honor the insurance, so we'll just use tax money. Well, tax revenues are going to be way down because everybody's going bankrupt, so you won't have any of those. So we'll just borrow the money. Well, you can't do that because that's why you're in court, because you're broke. So what are you going to do? They're going to print the money. And that means the FDIC insurance won't mean anything, because the money they give you back is going to be, German 1929 money or whatever, 1925 money or whatever year it was. Yeah, it's not going to buy you a loaf of bread. So, anyway, those were generally a list of the subjects. And I was just pointing out how being rich is just evidence of bad character. And it's just no different than if I went to, say, Best Buy and I bought something and then I sold it to my neighbor for twice the price. My neighbor got the greenhouse for me, right? Because he saw it at Home Depot and they were 50% off. Well, they were like 70% off. He didn't charge me. He didn't make a profit, because he's not a scumbag. And, when you're reselling something for more than it's worth and you're taking a huge cut, you're a scumbag. There's no way of avoiding that. You just ripped the fucking guy off. You just said, here, you could have gotten it right here for, $29.95, and I pretended giving you a bargain because I sold it to you for less than some real crook but I sold it to you for way more than you should have paid for it. And I could have just told you where to buy it cheap. But because I have to make money, I'm going to rip you off. And when you do that unnecessarily, not just to pay your mortgage, but when you're doing that so you can get rich, my claim is you have lousy character. You're a rotten citizen. You're a shitty person. And to be Donald Trump is to be a shitty person. To claim to have $9 billion worth of assets and be unwilling to sacrifice a few billions of dollars to do a great deal of good in the world, where you could create lots of not-for-profit businesses, do lots of innovative, interesting things, create education systems, he could create a high school prizes, right? Prizes for high school students, where he could offer high school students millions of dollars, right? He could have $1 million prizes, right? For high school students that do the most innovative scientific project or something. You don't think that would be a huge and brilliant incentive to have? There's tons of good things to do in this world, and to think Donald Trump is anything like a human being, even a shitty human being, he's a catastrophically low character human being, to walk around being proud of hoarding $9 billion, saying, I'm entitled to get interest on $9 billion. I won't let the system have any of it. It's mine, 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 mine. It's Jabba the Hutt, okay? You don't get fat by not eating resources. He's a big, fat, $9 billion monster. And that's how it should be understood, that those are real resources that could do real good in the world, and they can't because he won't let them go into the machine without pulling another dime out. He won't, the machine of our civilization. He keeps wanting the civilization to pay him. He's not giving it anything. He's taking from it. Anyway. But people are just too dense to understand how the game works. The rich don't make anything. They don't innovate anything. They don't contribute anything. They are parasites on our existence. They're the worst thing you want in the lifeboat. And we are in a lifeboat. People are dying here for tiny amounts of resource deprivation because of our civilization is rotting because of minor investments we can't make in the development of decent people. Because all these shysters keep claiming entitlement, including liars and thieves like the teachers union and the fucking cops who can't seem to figure out when it's appropriate to put 9 or 10 bullets in somebody's head. Anyway, so that's enough. Time to do my business for the cats. Potted cat is cute, must say. Yeah, it's not too good for my flowers, but you pay a price. Yes, you're a silly cat. He's really getting quite comfortable now. 6 months ago, he would have just taken off. He wouldn't let me stare at him eye to eye. That cat, after 10 years, he's still spooky as fuck. Look at him. Look. He's like, what the hell is he up to? What's he doing? He's planning against me. I can see him plotting. He's still paranoid as hell. 10 years. I've been feeding him every single day for 10 years, and he still doesn't trust me. So anyway, that'd be all. That's it. The cats are gonna have some politics. Whoa, don't swat me. Don't swat me. Okay, rub my head. Now swat me. Yes. Nobody can talk cat. It's like the most retarded language on earth. Yeah, I'm afraid to say. Next to lizards, maybe. Anyway, till next time.